Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So, how are you, everyone? Okay. So, today we are going to talk a little bit about the plant kingdom, but just a part of it, because in the previous class, we had actually completed the cryptogams portion, which is algae, bryophytes, and teratophytes. And today we are going to concentrate on the angiosperms and the gymnosperms. Okay. So, you can go back if you have missed the class, you can just go back and refer to that video if you want to learn about the algae, pteridophytes, and bryophytes part. Okay. So, and before I start the class, I'll just let you know about a little bit of information. We are transferring this class, the NEET class, NEET regular bio class, from Thursday, Saturday to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but in the evening portion, that is from 7 to 8:30. So if you like this class and if you want to attend it, you can just follow us. You can follow the regular updates. The update will be given. But I'm just giving you a little bit of information from my side because I am teaching it. So you can just come instead of coming Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you can just come and attend it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. in the evening. Okay, so we'll start. Now, before starting, we'll talk a little bit about practically. Now, we are practically, and we have a lot of courses ranging from the 6th grade to 12th grade. We have NEET courses, which runs on YouTube. We have an app as well, where you can subscribe to our courses. You will have a lot of videos and courses and simulations, and which is very, very interesting. And you can go and check us out. You can also follow us on YouTube and on WhatsApp, on Facebook and on Instagram. And you can rate your experience from your Android phones and your iPhones. Okay. So moving on. So as I said, today we'll be concentrating on the, okay. So we'll be concentrating on the phanerogams portion, as you see. So phanerogams. So what is cryptogams and what are phanerogams? I'll just tell you. Cryptogams are plants without seeds and flowers. Okay, so they basically depend on spores for their reproduction. But as for phanerogams, which we'll be learning about today, these are plants. These are all developed plants. Those were not developed. These are all developed plants with seeds, flowers, and fruits. Okay, so developed ones. So as I said, we are done with algae. Okay, we are done with algae, we are done with bryophyta, and we are done with pteridophyta. Today, we'll be talking about gymnosperms and angiosperms. Okay, dicots and monocots, I'm not going to discuss a lot about it today because dicots and monocots come in the next portion of the course. Okay, so it will be like from here we'll go to kingdom Animalia. There also it will be all basic, and after that we'll go into the anatomy and morphology. At that time, we'll be discussing about dicots and monocots. Okay, morphology and anatomy. At that time, we're going to discuss about dicots and monocots. Today, we're just going to concentrate on the gymnosperms and angiosperms and how the reproduction takes place and how the plant grows and what are the examples and everything. So today, we're going to discuss about that. So if you have any doubts, I'm just saying it. If you have any doubts, just go into the chat box and leave your comments there. And if you have doubts, you can ask it there and I'll answer to the best of my capabilities. Okay. So let's see if anybody has joined. You can just log in and just leave the comments on the chat box. Okay. So we proceed. Okay. So what are gymnosperms? As I said, gymnosperms are a kind of phanerogams which are special because they have naked seeds. Okay, now what do I mean about naked seeds? First, we'll just read it out. Okay, so most of the gymnosperms are perennial woody trees or shrubs. Have you seen those kind of, have you gone for some kind of hill stations or mountains, and have you seen long eucalyptus trees and trees which are very long? They don't spread out a lot, but they're very long, oak, maple, etc., etc. Okay, so these kind of trees which are spread out, long perennial woody trees, these are known as gymnosperms. They have cones and pines. Those kind of trees are gymnosperms. Okay, so what you mean by naked seed is, it means that the ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall. Okay, and they remain exposed. So the ovules, the female portion, okay, of the plant remains uncovered. Okay, so that because of that uncovered part, it is known as gymnosperms. Okay, so they are non-flowering. They are still not the highest form of plants. They are just a little bit low. So they are non-flowering. Okay, and they reproduce naked seeds. As I said, naked seeds. Fruits are not produced. Okay, and the xylem has tracheids and phloem has sieve cells. So tracheids, what they are not, it's not very developed. The xylem and phloem part, mostly they are a lot more developed in the angiosperms. But in gymnosperms, they have tracheids. Those are just cells like this. Okay, to carry the water out. And phloem has only sieve cells, no other cells. So these are all the vascular cells. Vascular system is not developed. Okay, so as you can see, gymnosperms, they are naked seeds. Okay, the female portion is not covered, and the vascular system is also not developed. All of this develops in the angiosperms. When you go to the angiosperms, that time it develops, but we'll talk about it later. But now, for now, you can see that the gymnosperms are not the highest form of plants. Okay, so the full body, plant body is sporophytic in nature. Okay, now what do you mean by sporophyte? As in, sporophytes mean sporophytes mean that the plants have proper root, stems, and leaves. Okay, so it is a proper plant. It's not that it does not have proper roots or proper shoots or proper stems and leaves. No, it is a proper plant. The only thing is the seeds are naked. There's no fruit covering it. Okay, so we'll talk about the root, shoot, and leaves plant. The leaves part. Okay, so the roots are coralloid roots. Okay, coralloid roots of cycas show association with nitrogen fixing blue-green algae. Okay, so coralloid roots means tuft of small roots. Okay, so there are just tuft of roots. It's not very like divided and everything. No, it's just small. A lot of it, just basically, it looks like this. Just small. A lot of it, but small roots. Okay. Pinus show association with endophytic fungi called mycorrhiza. Okay, so what happens? They have for the fixing of things, for the nitrogen fixing and the oxygen, getting oxygen for the nutrition purpose. They have the roots. Sometimes they have a symbiotic relationship with the fungi and algae and stuff like that. Okay, so now we'll come to stem. Gymnospermic stem is mostly erect, aerial, solid, and cylindrical. It is just a tall stem. It will be because it's not branching out. There are no branches as such. Okay, so it's not branching out. It'll be just tall tuft of tree. That's all, just a tall one. Okay, you go to any hill station and you see tall trees, those all of them are gymnosperms. Okay, in cycas it is unbranched, and in pinus, cedrus and conifers it is branched. Very less. Okay, it will be very less. It's not branched like how a gulmohar tree is and all that. Okay, it will be very less branched, very few branches, but it will be very tall. Okay, so remember these things, these that the cycas is unbranched and pinus, cedrus, conifers, it is branched. These things you have to remember because they are important for NEET point of view. They are very important. Okay. So, and we come to leaves. The foliage leaves are simple, needle-like or pinnately compound. See, pinnately compound as in the leaves will be somewhat like this. That's all. Piney, needly, like this. Okay, those are pinnately compound leaves. Okay, scale leaves are small, membranous, and brown in color. Sometimes the tree, the leaves will also be brown in color. Okay, the leaves in gymnosperms are well adapted to withstand extreme temperatures also. Very extreme temperatures they are adapted to, because as I said, they'll be found in very cold weather and all. Okay, there they need to have this structure so that they stand there solid. Okay, so these leaves and the stem basically is very strong. Okay, that is why they are also used for wooden purpose also, to collect the branches are actually cut down and used for furniture purpose because they're very strong in that matter. Okay, so now we'll talk a little bit about the reproduction part. Now the thing is, the cone part, as you see here, you can see the cone part is the one which actually helps in the reproduction part. Okay, since there are no fruits or no flowers as such, so the cones actually replace the need of flowers. Okay, so cones do the job of flowers. Now there is actually two kinds of cone in these kind of trees. Okay, there is a female kind of cone and there are male cones. Okay, let me see if anybody has any doubt or anything. Okay, so this is standard 11. Okay, this is Hi Lakshmi. This is standard 11 course. Okay, this is for NEET basically. Okay, and today we are learning a little bit about the gymnosperms and angiosperms. Okay, so as I was talking about gymnosperms, now female cones and male cones. As I said, instead of flowers, they have female cones and male cones. Okay, so the gymnosperms are heterosporous and produce haploid microspores. Okay, microspores and megaspores. So as I said, female cones and male cones. My female cones produce microspores. Okay, and female cones produce megaspores. Okay, so microspores and megaspores. The two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia that will bond on leafy structures called sporophytes, which are arranged spirally along lax to form compact strobili or cones. The strobili, see, as you can see, it's all, the sporangia is all covered, it's all covered and like put on a basic shape, cone type of shape. So that's why it's called cone or strobili. So basically, it will look like this, somewhat like this. Okay, so the female one will look like this, whereas the male one will look like this. this. Okay, so this is how it looks. These are the strobili. Okay, so the strobili bearing microsporophylls or microsporangia are called male strobili. As I said, microspores are male, megaspores are female. Okay, so the microspores develop into a male gametophytic generation, and they have the gametophyte. The actual hero here is the pollen grains. From here, you get pollen grains, which works in the fertilization. Okay, so now we'll talk about the megasporophylls. Now, microsporophylls, what they do, they have that strobili thing. From there, they have the pollen grains, okay, which work as the male part, okay, the male gamete. Now, in megasporophylls or the female part, they have ovules, okay. They have ovules. The female part has ovules, which work in the fertilization. Okay, so there are micros, just get it into your brain. Micro is the male part, okay, the gamete, which are the pollen grains. Mega is the female part, which are the ovules. Okay, so now together they come together and form the fertilization, the zygote and the embryo. Okay, so here, see, this is the male part. As you can see, this picture will say it all. This is the male part, okay, and this is the female part, female cone, male cone. Okay, so they have pollen grains, okay, they have microsporangium. The male part has each of them are microsporangium, and they have pollen grains. Okay, the female part has ovule. Okay, now the pollen grains and the ovule fertilize and form the embryo. This thing is formed. Okay, so I'll just write it once again. Pay a lot of attention to it because this is actually a very important topic. Okay, so microspores and megaspores. Okay, so this is male and this is female. Okay, they have the part of pollen grains and they have ovules. These two come together and work on fertilization or reproduction, whatever you call it. Okay, so I hope you got it. Okay, if anybody has any question, please ask and I'll try to answer it. Okay, okay, so moving on. So now, how does this fertilization happen? One of the main sources of this fertilization, how does the pollen grains jump into the ovules? Okay, so that happens with the help of air. So the pollination or the fertilization happens with the help of air. Okay, so this is an important question. I'll just mark it. You can find it on the PDF later. Okay, this is a very important question for NEET, where they have asked like how gymnosperms, what is the media of the, what is the mediator of gymnosperms? So they'll put air, water, whatever it is, etc., etc. The answer will be air. Okay, so the pollen, now the pollen grain developed a pollen tube on the opening of ovule to carry male gametes towards the archegonia in ovules. Okay, so what happens? This is the microsporangium that which holds the pollen. Okay, now that with the help of air, okay, this happens with the help of air, they go inside the female cone. Okay, and they have the eggs. Okay, these are all the eggs. Okay, this is the sporangium, these are the eggs, and this comes inside and helps in the fertilization. Okay, the fertilization happens inside the megasporangia. Okay, so the fertilization with the help of air, the pollen grain comes and they are caught in the archegonia, which has the eggs, okay, in the megasporangia, and there the fertilization happens. Okay, so this picture is actually a very, like, it looks very scary from outside, but it is actually very, very easy. Why I put this? Because of the 2N thing, the haploid and the diploid generations. Okay, which one is haploid and which one is diploid? Okay, so microsporangium is basically, right now it is diploid. Okay, when it is in the cone, okay, female cone, male cone, that time it is diploid. Okay, that time it is 2N. But then meiosis happens. Okay, right now I'm talking about the male part. So the meiosis happens. Meiosis, what happens in meiosis? Everybody knows this. In meiosis, the diploid generation is divided into 4 haploid generations. Okay, so the diploid generation is 2N, which gives rise to 4 haploid. Okay, so due to this meiosis, the microspores are all haploid. Okay, this is all 1N. The microspores and the pollen grains are all haploid. Okay, up to this, now this is the female part. Till now, this is diploid. When meiosis occurs, again, megaspores are also haploid in nature. Okay, so this is the male gamete. This is the female gamete. Pollen grains and ovules. Now, they fertilize here. Okay, 1 haploid, male haploid, that is N, plus female haploid. So the zygote is diploid. Okay, so the zygote which forms after the pollination, it becomes diploid. Okay, then again the embryo forms and there are new seeds, etc. Okay, that is another part. Okay, so basically this picture, it shows like how they were in the cones, they were diploid. Then meiosis occurs where the gametes are released. Gametes are all haploid. Okay, then they fuse together, again they become diploid and give rise to the child or the embryo. Okay, so that's it. Now, anybody? Hi Chetan. This is actually 11th standard class. This is for NEET. Okay, you can very well watch it. You can very well follow the class. You'll get to know some idea about it. But this class is actually for NEET and biology. Okay, I hope I answered. Okay, so now heteromorphic alternation of generation. Okay, this thing happens in phanerogams. What happens? Okay, alternation of generation, like the lifetime of the lifetime of the plant. Okay, it will be consisting of a haploid generation. Okay, half of the life will be haploid or a little bit part of the haploid, and a little bit of the plant's life will be diploid. Okay, this is for both the angiosperms and the gymnosperms. Okay, diploid generation. So it alters. So when we talk about gymnosperms, what happens? The sporophyte is the diploid generation and gametophyte is the haploid generation. Okay, so what happened? The diploid generation is the sporophyte generation. Sporophyte. Okay, so sporophyte is actually the generation consisting of a whole tree, like a whole plant, where presence of leaves, roots, and stem. So when it is a full plant or a full tree, that time it is diploid in nature. Okay, and haploid is for the whole reproduction process. During reproduction process, the trees are haploid. Okay, so this is known as the alternation of the generation. Okay, so as you can see in this figure, it is very clear. As you can see here. So the whole in the tree here, it is sporophyte. This thing is a sporophyte, is a whole tree which has a stem, a root, a leaf, and everything. Okay, so this is diploid in nature. Then the cones and everything, I've already said the cones and everything are all diploid. Okay, when meiosis occurs, when the whole gamete are released, the pollen grains and the ovules and the archegonia and everything is released, that time the microspores are haploid in nature. This thing is gametophytic. Okay, so the whole pollination occurs, as I said. Okay, the pollen grain goes into the ovule and fertilizes. It goes into the archegonium and fertilization. After the fertilization, again the zygote is again sporophytic in nature. Okay, so it is just when it is grown, all grown. Okay, it is all grown, that time it is diploid, sporophyte. And when the fertilization is taking place, the whole fertilization part, okay, the releasing of pollen grains, the attaching, the cytokinesis, the karyokinesis and everything, okay, mitosis, meiosis, that is the diploid generation or the gametophytic. Okay, so the trees are, these kind of trees are, have two kinds of lives. Okay, it's an alternation between two kinds of life. One, it is a sporophyte, the other time is gametophyte. Okay, I hope you understood. I hope you understood. Okay, whoever is here, Chetan and Lakshmi, I hope you guys understood. Now we are going to talk about angiosperms. Now, angiosperms are the most advanced division of flowering plants. Okay, why is it so advanced? Because we've already seen the cryptogams, where the cryptogams were, there was an alternation, like cryptogams had no flowers, had no roots, they had false roots, had no proper leaves. Some of them did not have proper leaves. Algae and all, they don't have proper leaves. Some might have, but there's no fruits, no seeds, no. They were basically reproducing with the help of spores. Okay, so that is all underdeveloped. Then we had gymnosperms. Now, gymnosperms are basically like developed plants only, but what they do not have flowers or fruits, and they have seeds, but seeds are also naked in nature. It's not covered. Okay, so that is not, they are not proper in nature. They are not that developed. So angiosperms are the most developed plants on earth. Okay, and most of them, there are lots of whatever you see in your surroundings. I'm not saying the most of the species, whatever you see around you are actually gymnosperms. The most flowering plants, roses, papaya, coconut, whatever you use around us, okay, whatever we use around us are all angiosperms. Okay, so they're the most advanced division. Okay, they're the most advanced division, okay, of the flowering plants. They're highly evolved plants. Everything of them is evolved properly and adapted to the terrestrial habitat. Plants are always terrestrial. These plants, angiosperms, are all terrestrial. They are not aquatic. They don't grow in water. They're all aquatic in nature. Okay. So Wolffia is the smallest angiosperm, and eucalyptus is the largest. Wolffia is the smallest and eucalyptus is the largest, and eucalyptus grows up to 100 meters. It's very, very high. Okay, so the plants is differentiated into root, stem and leaves, so they are also sporophytes. And apart from that, they have flowers, fruits and seeds. And all the, as I said, the vascular tissues there in the gymnosperms, they were not developed. Here, the vascular tissues are all developed. They have xylem shows vessels or trachea, and phloem has sieve tubes and everything. So, angiosperms are the most developed plants. Okay, they have all stem, roots, flowers, fruits, seeds, everything is developed. Plus, they have developed vascular tissues, which carry, vascular tissues are those tissues which carry the food or the nutrition. We'll read about it later again, okay, in the next classes. Now, angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed by fruits, okay. In gymnosperms, it was naked, but in the angiosperms, the stream seeds are enclosed by fruits, okay. They provide us with food, fodder, fuel, medicines, etc. As I said, everything around us, most of the plants we use from our daily to daily life for our food, for our nutrition, etc., everything is mostly angiospermic in nature, okay. And they are divided into two classes, dicotyledons and monocotyledons, okay, but we will discuss this later, okay. We will discuss about this, not today, we will discuss about this later in the next chapter, okay, next chapter, because next chapter is Kingdom Animalia. Today, now this will be after that. So basically, just a little bit of idea, the dicotyledons are characterized having two cotyledons in their seeds, while the monocotyledons have only one. This is just the seed part, okay. This is about the seed part in angiosperms. Okay, now we'll discuss about this later. Okay. So very well, we are now into the reproduction of angiosperms. Again, this is very important for NEET. Okay, so any questions? Let me just quickly check if anybody has any questions. No, if you have any questions, please ask in the chat box. Okay, so now reproduction, there we saw there were cones, okay, pine cones or whatever, they had cones. One kind of cone was female and one kind of cone was male, okay. So that is gymnosperms. Now we are talking about angiosperms. Angiosperms have flowers, okay. So angiosperms have flowers, okay. Now the flower has two very important parts. Okay, so one is the stamen. Okay, one second. Yeah, one is the stamen. Okay, the other one is carpel, pistil or carpel. Okay, so stamen is provides the male part. Okay, and carpel or pistil supplies the female part. Okay, so what happens? The stamen has two parts, as you can see. There is the anther, this is the anther, and this is the filament. Okay, this is a normal, suppose this is a normal flower. They have petals. Okay, petals, okay, done. Now the main part is the stamen, which has anther and filament. Okay, carpel on the other hand has stigma, okay, style and ovary. Ovary on the inside has ovules. Okay, so let me just quickly put, this is the flower is the main portion, flower for reproduction. Okay, so what happens in the flower for reproduction? We have two main parts. Okay, stamen and carpel. Okay, stamen, in the stamen the main part is the anther. Okay, here is ovary. In the carpel it is ovary. Okay, so as you can see, sigma and style are also important, but that is only for the transportation part. But the main thing happens in the ovary only. Okay, so let's read. So some of the plants have only one gamete, either female or male. Okay, monoecious. Some plants have one gamete only. Okay, they can be a female plant or they can be a male plant. This monoecious, one of the examples here is coconut. Coconut is that kind of plant. The other have both. Okay, that is the dioecious plant. They have both female and male gametes. That is dioecious. Dioecious is papaya. Okay, other plants also, mango and all, they are also there. Okay, so the male sex organs in a flower is the stamen. Okay, as I said, the male is the stamen and the female is the carpel. Okay, the anthers following meiosis produce pollen grains, and the female organs in a flower is the pistil or carpel. Pistil consists of ovary enclosing one to many ovules. So the anthers, okay, they give rise to pollen grains. Okay, and ovary gives rise to one or many ovules. Okay, so let's see what happens, and then it's actually a very important but a very interesting thing also happens. Okay, so what happens? Within ovules, highly reduced female gametophytes are present. Okay, ovules have female gametophytes. This is the ovule. Okay, as you can see here, you can see the ovule. Okay, and this is how it looks, egg-like. It looks like this. They have polar nuclei, nucleus. Since it's a cell, they have nucleus. Okay, and they have the egg. Okay, and then this is after this we'll discuss. So what happens? Okay, see, this is the filament and the anther. The anther gives out pollen grains. Okay, so the pollen grains goes to the stigma, which is the female part, a part of female. Pollen grains reach the stigma. Okay, so now it's reached the stigma. Okay, pollen grain after dispersal from the anthers are carried by wind, etc. to the stigma. Okay, pollen grains germinate on the stigma and then resulting in the pollen tubes. Now, pollen grain reach the stigma, there is a thing called pollination happen and gives rise to pollen tubes. Okay, so what happens? They give the grains, the anthers give out the grains, as you can see here. The anthers, they give out grains, they reach the stigma, and after pollination, they become pollen tubes. Okay, now this pollen tubes, see, this pollen tubes, they reach to the ovary. The ovary part they reach. Okay, pollen tubes enter and 2 male gametes are discharged. Okay, so in pollen tubes, 2 male gametes are discharged into the ovary. Okay, so there are 2 male gametes. Suppose there's an egg. Okay. That's the ovary. This is the egg, the nucleus, and the tubes come. Okay, this is how it comes, joins and leaves 2 gametes. 2 gametes, they leave. There's only, just be careful, there is only 1 egg. Okay, and there are 2 gametes, 2 male gametes are there. 2 male gametes. Okay, so this is what happens. So since there are 2 male gametes, what happens? One fertilizes the eggs. Okay, so as you saw, there is the nucleus. This is the egg, synergids. Synergids actually, synergids, these things are called synergids. This is the egg. Okay, so synergids attract the pollen tube. So this is, synergids are basically, they used for the attraction of the male gamete. Okay, so leave that. Now egg is there, the nucleus is there, 2 male gametes come. 2 male gametes are here. What happens? It is called double fertilization. Now what is double fertilization? Because there are 2 male gametes. Okay, number 1, one of them, they fertilize the egg. Okay, see, this one happens. Okay, this is there. One of them, they fertilize the egg. The other one fertilizes the nucleus. Here you can see this thing. Okay, this thing. Here, the other gamete fertilizes the nucleus. That is known as double fertilization. See, this is a better, that was just me drawing. This is the actual thing, what happens. As you said, synergists, they just attract the pollen tubes. Okay, so now they release the sperm cells. Okay, one of them, see, this is the egg. Okay, that becomes zygote. This has the egg and the sperm. Okay, so that becomes a zygote, it becomes 2n. And this is the nucleus that was already 2n. Okay, that became 3n, triploid. Okay, so one of the male gametes fuses with the egg to form the zygote. That is a given, that is the first fertilization. The other male gametes, they fuses with the diploid nucleus to produce a thing called primary endosperm nucleus, PEN, which is triploid in nature. Okay, and this process of triple fusion, okay, where one the normal zygote happens, the normal fertilization happens, and the nucleus fertilization happens. That is why two fertilization happens. This is known as the double fertilization. Okay, this is also very important. Okay, so angiosperm is where double fertilization can only be seen in angiosperms, nowhere else. Okay, so because of this involvement of two fusions, this event is called double fertilization. Okay, so this is a better picture. I wanted to put it so that it is easy for you to understand. This is the whole summation of the whole double fertilization. See, there is the ovary where they have the eggs and the synergids, and this is the nuclei. Okay, so the cell comes and attaches, the tube attaches, and the two gametes are released, two sperms are released. From there, the one of the sperm, it goes and attaches to the egg. See, here it attaches to the eggs, and the other one attaches to the nucleus. Okay, so this is how the double fertilization occurs. Okay, so this is how the whole process occurs. If anybody has any questions? Okay. Bhuvan asked if pollen grains can be transferred by honeybees. Yes, of course. See, that was there when we were discussing about gymnosperms. Only in gymnosperms was it only air and all. Here, by any process, pollen grains can be transferred by honeybees. Okay, that is where the honeybees are so. That is why honeybees are so important in our nature. Okay, and we have to save them because honeybees are what actually helps in the pollination process. The pollen grains coming into the stigma, coming and falling into the stigma, is done by the honeybees only. Okay, so that is why it is so important, and it can happen through other ways also, but honeybees are also one of the main causes for pollination process. Okay, air, water, whatever it is, that can happen, but apart from that, honeybees are also very important. Okay, so I hope, Bhuvan, I have answered your questions. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat box. Okay, and if you have any doubt for the double fertilization process, I know for students it can be a bit challenging to understand the double fertilization process, but it is so very easy. All you have to remember what happens after what, the steps. Okay, pollination, pollen tubes. From pollen tubes, you go into the gametes, go inside. Okay, the sperms go inside. One of the sperms goes into the zygote, goes into the egg, produces a zygote. The other one goes to the nucleus and produces the pen thing. Okay, so development of the zygote, this is just a repeat of whatever I was saying. See, this is how the whole ovary looks. Okay, this is how the ovary looks. Okay, so as a synergids are used for the attraction of the pollen tube. Zygote is there. This is a developed zygote. Okay, after the getting the sperm. Okay, and this is the primary endosperm nucleus. Okay, which has the other sperm. Okay, now it grows. Okay, it grows. This is how it grows. Okay, there is a whole globular embryo which forms. This is how the globular embryo forms. It becomes into heart shape, and then it produces the cotyledons. Okay, so this is how the whole zygote becomes a whole seed and into a whole fruit and everything. Okay, so zygote develops into an embryo, and the pen develops into the endosperm, which provides nourishment. Okay, so the pen, the primary endosperm nucleus, provides nutrition to the seed, to the zygote. Okay, the synergids and the antipodal generate after degenerate after fertilization. The extra part, the synergids and the other cells, they degenerate. And during these events, the ovules develop into seeds and the ovaries develop into fruit. Okay, from flower to fruit. Okay, from flower to fruit. This is how it happens. Okay, So now, what and all, let us just recapitulate what we have learned. We have learned what are gymnosperms, what are angiosperms. We have learned how gymnosperms reproduce and how gymnosperms have different types of generations and all the examples and everything we learned. Now we learned about angiosperms, what angiosperms are and how it is different from gymnosperms, and we learned about the reproduction in the gymnosperms. Now, as we saw in the alteration of generation in gymnosperms, even in uh, angiosperms also, there is the alteration of generations. Okay, there is a sporophyte and there is a gametophyte. Okay, there are sporophyte generation, okay, which has the leaves, fruits, flowers, roots, everything, etc. they have in this generation. This is diploid in nature. Okay, everything is two pairs of chromosomes. Okay, okay, and then there is the gametophytic generation. This is when the reproduction is taking place. Okay, and this is haploid. Okay, so as you can see, it's a sporophyte. They have stigma, style, anthers, and everything. Okay, and then when it goes for the whole, they leave the sperms. Okay, the pollen grains, they come and attach to the egg. This whole process, although it is a very small time, okay, it's not a major part. This is the gametophytic. And again the zygote and the formation of fruit and the formation of tree and the sporophytes, again the growth of the body. Okay, that is all sporophyte. So this is gametophyte. This is the M generation. Okay, this is the that was haploid, and this one is diploid. Okay, so this is the alteration of generation. Okay, so any questions? Anybody? No? Okay. Okay. So now we learn a little bit about the differences in the angiosperms and gymnosperms. If you have followed the class properly, you will know there are a lot of differences in angiosperms and gymnosperms. The first difference is that in gymnosperm, the ovules or the seed is naked seed, and here it is enclosed seed, enclosed. That is the first thing. Why is gymnosperm called a gymnosperms? Gymnosperms means naked seed. That is why it is called gymnosperms. Okay, pollen chamber and pollination drop are absent. Pollen chamber and pollination drop are present. Here it, because it helps with the help of air, they directly come and fall into it. So there's a whole chamber and drop. Here it is. It can be various things. It is absent. Archegonia are absent. 2 to 8 archegonia are present. Okay. Now, each ovule has one gamete, only one female gamete. One ovule has 2 to 8 female gametes. Now, gymnosperms, they have 2 to 8 female gametes. It's the whole cone, no? So, they'll have 2 to 8 female gametes. This one has only one egg, one female gamete, one egg only. One flower has one egg only. Okay. Here, double fertilization occurs. Okay. Here, no double fertilization does not occur. Okay. Endosperm is triploid and formed after fertilization. That is because of the double fertilization thing. Okay. And endosperm is haploid and formed before fertilization. So there is no double fertilization. So these are the basic differences between angiosperms and gymnosperms. Okay. Now this is just the last thing. Okay. This is just a basically that alteration of generations thing. Some of the plants have bigger gametophytic generation. Some plants have smaller gametophytic generations. That is why the life cycles are so different in different kind of plants. For example, in cryptogams, okay, it's haplontic and haplodiplontic. Okay, haplontic as in the gametophytic generation is longer. Okay, so the plants live in end state for a very long time. One chromosome, they live for a very long time. Okay, so examples such as algae, volvox, etc. Haplodiplontic, it is half-half. Okay, gametophytic and sporophytic equal. Sporo and gameto equal. What are they? They are found in bryophytes and pteridophytes, a little higher plants they are found. Okay, and diplontic, where dominating sporophyte generation. Okay, that happens in diplontic, that is the gymnosperms and angiosperms. Their major portion of life is diplontic in nature. Okay, they have two kinds of chromosomes. Okay, so that's it. That's it for the kingdom Plantae. Okay, I hope I have finished most of the things. If you have any doubts, please just ask now. So I'll be able to answer it now only. Okay, anybody is there, please ask about the doubts now and I'll be able to ask it now. I'll answer it now. Otherwise, we'll move on to the question and answer section. Okay, so if you know the answer, please put it in the chat box. Okay, otherwise I'll answer it myself. Okay, so the first question is phanerogams without ovaries are A. Angiosperms, B. Pteridophytes, C. Gymnosperms, D. All the above. Anyone? Anybody can answer? Can anybody answer? Okay, so the answer is, let's see, one by one we'll try to answer. Okay, one by one option. Angiosperms, okay, no, because they have ovaries, they have everything. Okay, pteridophytes, they are not phanerograms, they are cryptogams. Okay, gymnosperms, the answer is gymnosperms because they have naked seeds. They don't have ovaries. Okay, so the answer is gymnosperms. Okay, next question. In gymnosperms, the endosperm is triploid, haploid, diploid, tetraploid. Anybody? Anyone? Okay, so in angiosperms, there is double fertilization. So the endosperm is triploid. Okay, and in gymnosperm, there is no double fertilization, it is haploid. Okay, so the answer is not triploid, but it is haploid. Okay, it's not diploid also, it is not tetraploid also. The answer is haploid. Okay, next, which one is the most advanced from evolutionary viewpoint? Okay, anybody? Can anyone answer? Okay, so we'll just answer it. Selaginella is what? Selaginella is a pteridophyte. Okay, funaria. Who can tell me what a funaria is? Okay, funaria is a bryophyte. Chlamydomonas is an algae. So, Pinus is the angiosperm. So the evolutionary point, it is pinus. It's the most advanced kind of plant is pinus. So answer is pinus. Okay. Next, a gymnosperm carries 16 chromosomes. Number of chromosomes in its endosperm shall be what? Okay, I'll answer it. Okay, leaf in gymnosperm is diploid in nature. That is 2n. Okay, so 2n is equal to 16. Okay, so there are 16 chromosomes. Now, endosperm in gymnosperms are haploid. That is n. Okay, so when 2n is equal to 16, n is equal to 8. Okay, so the answer is D. This is the number of chromosomes in endosperm. Okay, very small mathematical thing, but very interesting also. Now, find out the similarity between gymnosperms and angiosperms. Anyone? Anyone? Will anyone answer? Okay. So find out the similarity between gymnosperms and angiosperms. They're asking the similarity. Okay, naked ovules is only present in gymnosperms and not angiosperms. So wrong. Polyembryony happens only in angiosperms and not gymnosperms. So wrong. Double fertilization only in angiosperms, not gymnosperms. So wrong. Siphonogamy is the answer. Okay. The whole, what is siphonogamy? It is that whole pollen into female gamete thing is that whole positioning of pollen grains inside the female gamete is the whole process is known as siphonogamy. Not actually gamete, sorry, 1 second. Female part. Okay, so that is known as siphonogamy. Okay, which is haploid in gymnosperms? Anyone? Which one is haploid in gymnosperms? Okay, so all three of them should be haploid. Haploid is, I'll write it here, haploid means it is n number of chromosomes, n as in 1. Okay, pollen grain and megaspore and root is 2n. Okay, megaspore mother cell is 2n, root 2n, leaf 2n, endosperm n, pollen grain n, megaspore n. Okay, pollen grain n, megaspore n, nucleus, nucellus 2n. Okay, all three of them having n is in C, endosperm, pollen grain, megaspore, all of them haploid. So the answer is C. Endosperm, pollen grain, megaspore are all n in nature. Okay, so concluding today's class, hope you guys liked it. Okay, so I'll repeat it once again. The NEET bio course has been moved from next month, that is from tomorrow. It will happen on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. So don't forget to join us and like, share and subscribe our videos. Okay, tell your friends also, tell your friends about Practically. Okay, and I hope you have a good day today. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.